I was going through Fox Nation the other day. I signed up for a subscription so that I could go through this Donald Trump interview with Brett Baer that went terribly wrong. It was worth it. It was fascinating. It was like $5.99 or something for the month. So I start kind of going through the other Fox Nation stuff on there, and I happen across Rob Schneider doing a stand-up routine. Let me see if I can find it. Wanted to give this a listen, see what Rob Schneider had to say. If you don't know this about Rob Schneider, he's a right-wing nutcase now. He's a QAnon nutter butter of epic proportions. Doesn't get more unglued from reality than this dude right here. Back in the day when I was little, he was actually really famous, really well known. He was in the Home Alone movies. The attendant, the hotel attendant that helps you carry your bags up and stuff. And he was always doing this, trying to get money from people. He was a really famous, up-and-coming comedian back in the 80s and the 90s, and even a little bit in the 2000s. His star eventually fell, but let's see where he is now, shall we? Let's see what he's up to at this moment in his life. Let's give you a little bit of context on Rob Schneider. This is a Majority Report breakdown of, something that he said, like this interview that he gave. Let's just it's on Glenn Beck. Yeah, we're just going to watch the Majority Report breakdown of this because the actual interview was an hour and 40 minutes long. So let's just kind of skip around a little bit and see what Rob Schneider said here.
Are you willing to lose it all for what you believe?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have it, then we have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about my career anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I care about my children's,
Me too.
the country that they're going to live in. And my hope.
And it's important to him that he points out how evil Joe Biden is and how good Donald Trump is. That's what he needs to say publicly. He's sick of being canceled for saying it, right?
Are you willing to lose it all for what you believe?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have it, then we have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about my career anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I care about my children's,
Me too.
the country that they're going to live in. And my hope is this. My hope is a beautiful story from a chaplain in England. When the American flyers came over in the early days of World War II, when the American flyers came over after, this is like the dog days, 1942, late 42, when their friends were getting blown out of the sky.
Okay, sure. I remember hearing about that in history. Yep.
They would go over on the bombers and half would come back, 2/3 would come back, but they were dying. And there was one particularly awful week, 2 weeks, where there was a very high percentage of these pilots were getting blown out of the sky and getting killed. And they went to the prison. They went to the Air Force chaplain, and the pilot said, "Why?" He said, "Our friends are dying. Why should we do this? Why should we get up tomorrow and fly?" They did this at literally 4:45. They're supposed to leave at 5:30. Why should we do this? Tell us why. They didn't say they weren't going to do it. So tell us why we should do this. Our friends are dying. Tell us. And the chaplain was really, woke up and said, well, humanity has come out of it. Has come out of the dark ages. We've come out of where people get burned at the stake. People believe and go along with this. And there's a darkness that we have come out of and doing a more of an enlightened period, a more freer period. And he said, this is a step back into those darkness, into the darkest parts.
Mm.
So he's saying that World War II was a step back into the darkest parts of humanity. Well, the Dark Ages were named the Dark Ages because reading and writing was largely banned except for certain people for religious reasons. So it's dark because we don't know anything about it because, record keeping was banned. But I get the point, I suppose. Timmy's going to have to fact check me on that, make sure I'm right on that point. I believe that's correct. But the point is taken. Okay, yes, the Nazis were trying to take us back to a dark time in human history. Yeah, okay. I would argue that World War II was the worst, or one of the worst, recorded times in human history. Nazi Germany couldn't have gotten as bad as it did without industrialization. The fact that we were so technologically advanced is what made it so deeply ugly.
And we need to stand up for that now. And that requires this. So they all flew.
We
Get
are
to the point.
there again.
Yeah. And
Wait. That was the point?
Yeah, that was the point.
That was the
Okay, yeah, so the majority of reports are jumping in now. The point is, I guess, it's a dark time for human history, and we need to step in and make sure that, this dark time does not happen again. I understand what he's saying, but we're not in Nazi Germany, okay? The guy is anti-vax, and he seems to believe that any vaccine or any movement on the vaccine front, any progress that we make toward, like, getting people vaccinated is basically like, the Nazis taking over again. That's what he's trying to say.
darkness that we have come out of and to a more of an enlightened period, a more freer period. And he said, this is a step back into those darkness, into the darkest parts of humanity. And we need to stand up for that now.
Stand against it, I think he means.
And that requires this. So they all flew.
We are there again.
Yeah, and it requires a new set of flyers.
So, anyway, yeah, that was, it requires a new set of flyers. Presumably, he's one of those flyers. So let's listen to this dude's stand-up routine. It's bound to be ridiculous. It's bound to be full of Trump support and all this other garbage. Dude needs help. Seriously. Get help, Rob. All right, let's listen to it. And while we listen, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild 2. I'm just kind of grinding. There will be zero spoilers. I will not spoil the story for anybody who hasn't played this yet. So you're good. Ooh, he's in Tampa. I lived in Tampa for years. I bet I know which convention center he's at even. I worked across the street from it for years, seriously. I worked upstairs from the, God, I don't remember the name of the bank, the Gulf Coast Bank or something like that. And there were like Jehovah's Witnesses and all kinds of people always standing on that street corner at the convention center trying to sucker people in to their belief system.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here in Florida. I tell you, you guys, Florida are the nicest people. You guys are.
No, they're scumbags. Again, I lived there for 3 years, actually. And all I came across in Florida were shallow, vapid, empty-headed shitheads. Non-stop. It was just people who were full of themselves and believed that they were the best and believed they deserved this and that. And they were there for one of two reasons. Well, one of three reasons. A, they were part of Scientology and they were trying to, get their start and, join the Sea Org and all that other garbage. Because if you remember, Clearwater, which is part of Tampa practically, it's right next to it, is controlled by Scientology. Or B, they were actresses or actors trying to get their start in the industry and thought that this is a good place to do it. Or C, old people that were retired and just kind of enjoying the weather. Or D, number 4, I suppose, me. I was number 4. So anyway, Florida sucks. The people suck. It's a terrible place. I hated it. But let's listen.
Incredible. You put up with so much. You're so kind. You have people every day just running over your border, just flooding into Florida. Just every day, just foreigners coming in. I'm not talking about Mexicans. I'm talking about people from California and New York. These motherfuckers. These guys.
Okay, that was funny. That was a good joke. I liked that, actually. Fair enough. People are kind of territorial about their state, New Yorkers, I've noticed, don't like people who've lived here for less than 2 years. They talk shit about them constantly. Or people who claim to live here and have an apartment here, but actually live in Florida officially to avoid taxes and stuff. No, I live here full time, and I have for a long time now, so I guess I'm an official New Yorker, according to New Yorker standards.
coming over here with their vegan diets and their yoga pants and their rock climbing shoes, and then
God forbid somebody have a hobby, right? Wow, what a terrible group of people to have a hobby like rock climbing. How messed up is that, right?
And God, if you want to fuck them up, give them a piece of cheese. And they go, oh, fuck, I'm lactose intolerant. Oh, fuck.
Okay, if he was trying to be, like, intentionally terrible, that was actually really funny. I liked that. That was a good joke. I've got to give him that one. That was good. I mean, as long as it's not because of veganism. If he was doing it because they're vegan, then he's just a D-bag, which we know he is. But if it was a lactose intolerant thing, that was actually funny.
God knows, you really want to fuck him up, give him a piece of toast, like, oh, fuck, I can't eat gluten, there's gluten in there.
Yeah, okay. Now he's making fun of people's, like, lifestyles or diets or whatever. Like, just, I'm not sure why he wants to, like, punch down. He's punching down, right? Like, why do you want to attack people that you don't like?
They're a bunch of pussies, and I know because I'm one of them. I'm from California. Gluten intolerant. I'm a vegan.
There is actually a gluten intolerance illness called celiac disease, and it's common to people from Scotland area, I think. I forget exactly where people with gluten intolerance are from, but yeah, it's actually a big problem, and it will really wreck your insides. It is bad to have gluten if you have celiac disease. Very bad. It can kill you. So I'm not sure, like, what he's kind of getting at here, if he's saying that, like, he has gluten intolerance, or if he's saying that, like, people that have gluten intolerance are stupid, or what. I mean, there are people who just don't eat gluten because they think it's bad for you when it's not. So maybe he's taking a shot at those people. I mean, fair enough, gluten... People who refuse to eat gluten but don't have some underlying condition to warrant avoiding gluten are kind of stupid.
I'm from California. Now, I don't mean to, like, complain or anything, because you don't want to hear my problems. You don't want to hear problems. It's like, the thing is, it's just boring to tell people, like, what's wrong with California. It's pretty obvious. It's overcrowded. The traffic's terrible. The taxes are horrible. The government interferes with every aspect of your life and your business. It just bores people to death. So what I try to do is tell people kind of a metaphor for, like, what's wrong with California. California is like a beautiful woman who used to...
Oh my God, dude. I'm going to have so much censoring to do when this is over. I hope he doesn't, like, get worse than this, because this is pretty rough already.
But she hasn't in a long fucking time.
That's what California, or that's what Florida's like, or California? I missed it.
You can't even remember the last time. You're like, did she ever me? I don't even remember. But she's still spending all your fucking money.
God, that's like such an incel position to hold. It's fascinating to see this mindset. And let me tell you why. This mindset that people who are using your money are just like leeches or whatever. I don't know about Rob Schneider or Andrew Tate or any of the other quote-unquote manosphere types of people. I don't know about them, but I will tell you what my mindset is on this whole thing. My primary goal in life is to make sure that the people in my life are okay, are set, are good. They don't have to worry about anything. They can spend what they want to spend and be okay and know that it'll be okay, That's what brings me happiness. That's what fulfills me in my life. Now, what does Rob Schneider get fulfillment from? Owning money, presumably just having it, not spending it. He doesn't want it to go away. He just wants to be in possession of it. And anytime somebody spends part of that money that he has, it annoys him, gets under his skin. It's unacceptable because it's that much less that he has to possess, to own, to keep. That's the impression that I get from people like Andrew Tate and Rob Schneider and other people like this. You know what? The fact that you have made your money available to somebody in your life means that you've materially made their life better in some measurable, real way, in some important way. Their life is better because of what you did. Does that not mean anything to you? Do you not care about that? Would you rather just not make their lives better? Would you rather just sit on your piles of cash? Why? What's the point here? What's the ultimate goal that you're driving for? It is so sad to see people in this mindset where they are simply out for themselves and don't care about other people or their, prosperity or survival or whatever else. It's just a different mindset, is what I'm saying. This guy lives in a different headspace than me or pretty much anybody that I ever hang out with. I get joy from helping others. He gets joy from hoarding his money, seemingly.
And she won't let anybody else. And now she has homeless people.
Okay, that was kind of a funny joke, I guess. It was clever, I'll say that. I don't think it was funny, but it was clever. Kind of melded analogies there. That was actually really crafty, that joke was. He's basically saying, he's basically talking about a woman, very obviously his wife, and then it merged into California just as quickly as it as it came, it went. That's actually funny. Well, clever, not funny.
Well, I have friends in California have $1 million homes, can't get out of their own driveway. They're just brainwashed, and people are like, people gotta live somewhere. At the end of your driveway? That's not good for them either. How far are you gonna take this? Well,
you think that homeless people are living at the ends of people's driveways in California? He's talking about rich people, certainly, right? Fellow rich people. You think rich people have homeless people living at the end of their driveways? It's absurd, dude.
they're on the lawn, but they're not in the house. As long as they stay on the lawn, people gotta live somewhere.
Yeah, there is a homeless problem in California. I'll give them that. That's true.
Well, they're in the living room, but they're not in the kitchen. My wife and I spend most of our time in the kitchen.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, this is completely... How is this on Fox Nation? I can't believe that he said all of this stuff on a Fox program. I'm going to have so much censoring to do. I'm sorry, guys. I have to cut some stuff out because it's just, not age appropriate. So that's why if you see any big jump cuts, that's what's happening. I'm just cutting some very inappropriate and obviously not even funny jokes. If it's a funny joke, but it's inappropriate, I'll leave it in. But none of them have been funny so far.
So we moved out of California. We looked different places, you know. We went to North Carolina. My wife's like, there's not enough Mexicans here. And I said, you got to look around, honey, Be open-minded. Check the kitchen. Look around everywhere, Just be open-minded. Look around, And we couldn't stay in California, The state of California make my kids wear masks in school, so we moved out to the slightly freer state of Arizona.
Oh, here we go. We're getting into the pro-Trump, anti-vax, anti-mask garbage. So they made your kids wear a mask in school, and that infuriated you, so you moved to Arizona, okay?
A week after we got there, the schools in Arizona made my kids wear masks.
Why? Why do you think that is, Rob? Do you think maybe that's because masks were important for public health and everybody from here to Texas realized it? Even DeSantis closed down Florida for a short time. Everybody closed down, just about, for a short time. If you didn't, you were a fool, because that saved lives. How many lives were saved by temporary lockdowns and passing out PPP loans and COVID stimulus checks? How many lives were saved by that? I've seen estimates from researchers, I believe, that say somewhere in the vicinity of 1 million lives were saved from the measures taken to prevent COVID from spreading. Okay, the shutdowns saved about 3.1 million lives, according to the NIH. 3.1 million lives. Now, how many people have died of COVID in the United States so far? We've got 1.1 million deaths of COVID in the United States. That number actually went down because they changed the way that they were measuring it, basically, not too long ago. So it used to be like, I don't know, 1.5 million or something, and then they changed it up a little bit, and here we are. So Rob Schneider is complaining that we've done seemingly anything at all to help stop COVID. He's complaining about it because apparently he didn't want to do anything. He wanted, that extra 3.1 million people to die, apparently, rather than just stay home. Something he probably does anyways. Dude's rich. Does he ever go out anyway? He would rather stand here and complain about it. And really what he's doing is encouraging normal, non-rich people to go out and trash their lives, to risk their lives. That's really what's happening, right? Just disgusting, man. Just a disgusting mindset this dude has. So that whole mask wearing and shutdown thing that you're talking about saved millions and millions of lives. But, this is the pro-life party, right? They're pro-life, super pro-life, totally. They really care about every life.
My wife was, she said to me, she's Mexican. She said to me, "You happy now, huh? You happy? We're freer in the desert. There's cactus in the backyard."
Some people like that aesthetic. I'm not a fan, but, it's not for everybody, I suppose.
And coyote. Not the kind that brought me to this country either. Real fucking coyotes that eat your fucking pets.
Yeah, this is just racist. If you don't know this term, coyotes are people who smuggle others into the United States, basically. And they're usually terrible people who blackmail the people that they're doing this for, or sometimes make them disappear completely if they don't come up with enough money. I mean, it's not a good situation at all. If you're dealing with a coyote, then you're probably in a bad spot. They're like connected to organized crime and stuff a lot of the time. Human trafficking they're human traffickers is what they are. So anyways, yeah, that's what a coyote is. And coyotes do not bring most undocumented immigrants into the country. You know what does? Airplanes. People come in perfectly legally and above board. They start out that way, and then they overstay their visas. By and large, that's how people end up in the United States and undocumented. So, yeah, he's just perpetuating a stereotype here. Why? I don't know. Apparently his own wife is undocumented, or was undocumented, according to him.
You happy now? The kids don't have to wear masks outside? But they can't go outside anyway because it's 120 fucking degrees outside!
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it is very hot in Arizona. I went there recently.
The first week, we were in Arizona. First week, in the house, my wife got stung by a scorpion. Luckily, she's Mexican.
Okay, I don't know what that has to do with anything. Does he think that Mexicans are genetically different from other people? Is that like what he's trying to imply?
The scorpion was throwing up for hours.
Ah, I see. Because Mexican food makes you throw up. Okay, well, I suppose it was an interesting joke. Can't decide if that was like... I guess he's not intending for it to be racist. So...
We had to take the scorpion to the hospital and get his stomach pumped. The scorpion would not come back to the house until we had the whole place sprayed for Mexicans.
Okay, that's funny, actually. That I feel like that was pretty good.
I'm married in 13 years now, and I think, don't clap too hard. It's the third one.
Third wife? Wow. So, good Christian man, right? Somebody who stays with his woman her entire life.
But it's about communication. That's the real key to it, is communicate.
Oh, it is.
Your wife wants to know that you're listening to her. And
yes, absolutely.
We are most of the time. We really are. It's just sometimes you leave out information and then you just move on and we're confused, like we're not listening to you, but we just don't know what happened. I'll give you an example. Just a few hours ago, my wife calls me and says, Robert, did you realize that the second most popular plastic surgery procedure for women now is...
I'm going to have so much editing for this. I apologize, guys, but you can guess what he's talking about here. And I don't even know if that's true, but okay. Don't trust a word out of his mouth, by the way, like not one. First of all, it's a comedy routine. I don't put it past comedians to make things up for the sake of their bit. They totally do that, first of all. And second, he's a far-right nutcase. He's not really trustworthy in the stats that he cites anyways, because he used those stats to arrive at the ass-backwards position that he holds politically anyways. Something's not going quite right in his calculation, so just be very wary of every stat he cites, every fact he lays down, everything that he says effectively. Just be very cautious about it.
For women now is... I gotta go. Don't fucking go. Don't leave me with it. Don't leave me with that. So the next hour and a half, I'm on my phone. I'm going like...
Oh my God, dude, come on. This is so not monetizer friendly at all.
And it's true. Apparently, like, these women's leggings and yoga pants are so popular, yet, revealing that for some women, how can I say this gently? For some women, their vaginas are a little on the beefy side.
Oh my God, dude. Why? I'm going to skip this section if he doesn't move on. Okay, apparently, I would bet anything that this guy is going to kind of bring this into trans issues, because that's a gender affirmation surgery, what he's talking about here. And it's not actually that common. It's extremely uncommon. Only 3,000 performed annually worldwide. I mean, nose jobs constitute somewhere in the vicinity of 30,000 nose jobs per year, I think, or something. There are like, oh God, I looked this up recently. I think 300,000 or just under 300,000 cosmetics surgeries, like full-blown surgeries per year in the United States alone. And then 150,000 non-invasive cosmetic procedures, like Botox injections, for example. So, yeah, I don't know what he's talking about here. This is completely incorrect, what he's saying. But let's just stick it out. We'll keep listening.
Ladies, you've been in the locker room. That's more of an outie than an innie. Yeah. Yes. Tuck it in, tuck it all in. Yeah, just grab both, and just shove. Yes. Better.
Okay. I don't feel like this is funny at all. Maybe it's just me. Maybe this is very funny. Maybe it's funny to a certain set of people, but this doesn't seem funny to me. I'm sorry.
Too much. Could squeeze that all together for... I'm sorry. This is how my grandma taught me how to tie my shoes.
This is terrible. This is not funny at all. I'm sorry.
That's the big difference between men and women, You never see
Is that the difference between men and women? Tell me more about the difference.
a guy go, yeah, I like these slacks a lot, but I'm starting to see way too much down there. Yeah.
What he's saying here, that's because there are different insecurities programmed into people from a young age. And men's insecurity is being too small, basically. So the more the better, basically, in men's cases.
I know, I'll just cut off some of my Yeah, the ball plasty. There's not been one plasty performed in America. I checked.
Well, that may not be the name of it, but I'm 100% sure that somebody probably felt that their stuff was hanging a little too low and had something done about it.
It's an amazing time to be alive right now. I never thought I'd see the day where, women would be misogynistically attacked in our culture.
Oh, my God. He's going to go the turf route, isn't he? He's going to say that it's misogynistic for trans people to exist, right?
Unbelievable to me, Even using the word woman now is controversial.
No, it isn't. It's never been controversial. What are you talking about? The word woman isn't controversial.
We have a Supreme Court justice on the Supreme Court. They asked her, they said, can you tell us your definition of what a woman is? She's like...
Well, this is obviously a politicized question, right? The question was intended to catch her in a problem. It was a gotcha question. There's no correct answer here because no matter what happens, somebody is going to be upset with her. So she said, I'm just not answering it. And that's a totally fair thing to say. It's a totally fair response to it. Seriously. And it was Ketanji Brown Jackson, I believe, is who that was. During her Supreme Court nomination. So yeah, this is just like made up. This is just a fabricated problem that doesn't exist. People don't know what woman is. No, people know what woman is. It's just a trick question intended to attack somebody.
Not falling for that trick question. You almost had me on that one. No. Not a biologist. What? Excuse me? Everybody knows what a woman is.
Yes, everybody knows what a woman is. The left included. There isn't this huge epidemic of people not understanding.
Everybody. A woman is someone who gets mad at you for something you did 3 fucking years ago. Huh?
Because men don't hold grudges ever, right? That's exclusively a trait that women exhibit, and only women. Totally.
Biological fact. A woman is someone who uses the tires of her car as curb feelers.
Because only women are bad drivers, right? Men are not bad drivers at all. And this isn't something that, is taught. Driving is an innate ability that every human being is born with, right? And men are just born with the ability to drive better than women. There's no way to teach it either. You cannot teach people to be better drivers. It's impossible. And the statistics totally 100% for sure back up what he's saying here, right? Absolutely. Women are totally worse drivers according to the statistics. Let's find out. Despite the fact that more men die than women each year in motor vehicle crashes. Despite the fact that men are more likely to engage in risky driving practices like not using seatbelts because it's not manly to wear a seatbelt, apparently. Despite the fact that men are more likely to drive while impaired by alcohol and speed, despite all of those facts, according to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. But totally, it's the women that suck at driving, right? It's the women, not the men, it's the women, okay?
Jesus. You could have drove, you asshole. Yeah, well, now no one can drive because we have a tire that's 100 yards behind our car.
He's obviously trying to communicate that women are worse drivers than men. It's just completely made up. That's not backed up by the data at all. Counterfactual.
A woman is someone who wakes you up at 2 o'clock in the morning to kill a spider in the bathroom. You said you killed it. You didn't kill it. It's still in there.
Okay, this one is interesting. It's socialized into people to believe that they are weaker than, the man, or believe that they are incapable of doing this, or that it's the man's responsibility to do this or that or whatever. Everybody feels the same way about spiders. They're creepy and weird. I don't want them crawling on me in the middle of the night or something, right? It doesn't make me, like, less manly because I don't like spiders. It doesn't make her more manly because she does like spiders. This is a socialization thing. You were socialized to feel this way. That, one gender should deal with it rather than the other. It's not a born-in innate thing. He is examining and recognizing socialized things, societal things that exist because society exists. If we were in the jungle and we had no concept of gender or sex or anything at all, this would not happen. In other cultures, this is not the case.
I didn't say I killed it. I didn't say anything. I went in there, and you didn't tell me how fucking big it was.
Okay, that's funny. I like that. That's good. That's good, actually. He's drawing attention to the fact that men are afraid of spiders, too. Okay.
And I said, I'm not going to deal with this shit right now. I don't have any pants on. I don't want to cut it in half and the other half lands on my...
Okay, getting weird, but all right.
And I got to get a plastic.
Calling it back to previous jokes. Okay, guy is a good comedian. Like, he knows how to craft a joke well. Some of his jokes have been weird and confusing and nonsensical and targeted toward, like, people to the left of hunting the homeless for sport, but some of them have been good, for sure.
A woman, someone who makes you check every door and lock in the house after she just checked every door and lock in the house. Did you
What's wrong with that? Can't you just double check it? Is that a problem?
check the garage? For what? To see if it's closed. Well, I closed it when I came home, Did you check it since?
You should check your locks. Make sure it's shut. Sometimes things happen. People go out there or whatever, right? You should check your locks before you go to bed.
I didn't go anywhere since, And you didn't go anywhere since. I just, kind of did the math. You know what I'm saying? Don't check the garage.
Is this dude telling us that he doesn't even bother checking his locks before he goes to bed? Really? I mean, even if you're confident you locked a door, you should always just double check it, right?
I checked the garage. It was closed. And I checked the front door, too, because I knew that was coming. The chain was on, too. I didn't put the chain on. Did you put the chain on? Who put the chain on? The spider? You said he was big. Did you check the sliding glass doors? No, but I was about to. First, I wanted to take off my pants and get into bed and find a comfortable sleeping position. And get my head on the pillow in a perfect place for like 4 or 5 hours, And then, after that, I was going to get up and put my pants back on and then check all the sliding glass doors. I checked the sliding glass doors, and of course, they're all locked. I get back into bed. I hear something. Honey, the only person who wants to kill you is already in the house.
Okay, that's funny. That was a pretty good joke, but he's downplaying something that's really important and mocking women for caring about it. That's kind of stupid, seems to me, but okay.
And he knows all the codes. And he could change the codes if he wants. So here we are, in a culture where suddenly the word woman is controversial.
It is not controversial. Everybody knows exactly what a woman is. Everybody. Every single person, okay? There isn't somebody that's so left-wing they don't understand. This does not exist.
What? How? Controversial? How? Because it discriminates. Really?
No, not really.
Against who? Well, against people who identify as women, but have...
Oh my God, he's going down the anti-trans route. You know what's sad about this? There was a time when being anti-trans wasn't even that interesting or funny or wasn't that big of a deal. Like, nobody cared, right? And you can see this, as a matter of fact, with Pat Robertson. You guys know Pat Robertson? Pat Robertson is famously an anti-LGBT nutcase. Has a problem with the LGBT community, has for like decades. In fact, he got caught saying this. Hang on. This is Pat Robertson all the way back in 1992, telling us, showing us at least how he felt about the LGBT community. Should give you an idea of who this guy is.
Calls on Larry King Live, then Tina Sinatra. Don't go away.
So a commercial break just comes up, right? Pat Robertson is now, believes he's off air. Unfortunately for him, he's not.
That guy was
Says that guy was an H slur for gay people. As sure as you're alive.
sure alive. Robertson and
Like, this dude just did not like gay people, and that was like the top message that he had to deliver to the world, right? And even Pat Robertson himself didn't care about trans people. Listen to this one. This was from 2013, 2014 era.
David, who says, I work with two people who have decided that they are females. I know what the Bible says about homosexuality, but is it wrong to refer to them as females since they've had their gender status changed in the eyes of the law? Why would you have to refer to them as females?
I don't understand all that, but I think there are men who are in a woman's body. It's very rare, but it's true, or women that are in men's bodies, and they want a sex change, and that is a very permanent thing. Believe me, when you have certain body parts amputated, and you have shot up with various kinds of hormones, it's a radical procedure. I don't think there's any sin associated with that. I don't condemn somebody for doing that.
Isn't that interesting? Pat Robertson didn't seem to care about people being trans all the way back in 2014.
But somebody who just says, well, I'm really a woman, I question the validity of that statement. But they say they're counted as female. You don't count somebody as female unless they really are, or male unless they really are.
In this instance, so this is a person who works with two people, so he doesn't really know their intentions or know their personal medical scenario.
It's not for you to decide or to judge. All right.
Okay.
Isn't that fascinating? It's not for you to decide or to judge. Just refer to them as they want to be referred to. Isn't that interesting? Pat Robertson, all the way back then. You know why? Do you know why this is how it played out? Because there was no culture war issue going on at the time. Nobody cared because it's a normal thing. Like, people just live their lives and do their thing. Some people are trans, some people aren't, and it's not a big deal. Nobody cares. Only recently has it become a serious culture war problem that gets claps every single time you go to CPAC or go to, Rob Schneider's comedy special or wherever else. There's always a group of people out there that will vociferously clap when you talk about the trans community and how evil it is and all this other garbage. That's why anti-trans jokes and rhetoric have gotten so popular in recent years. And it's honestly sad. Massive applause now because he said all that anti-trans stuff.
Like that guy. These six guys right here, these guys, especially the guy in the middle with the huge, gigantic. It's not even that fucking thing.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about or why he's saying this, but it's cringy and terrible. Please stop.
Well, he's a woman too. Sorry. Sorry, ladies, your feelings aren't as important as these dudes. Sorry.
Wait, why do ladies care what people say about anybody? I don't understand. It hurts their feelings now for people to identify as women? Why? And for that matter, why are your feelings more important than anybody else's feelings? They're not. And you notice that it was just baked right into it. The anti-trans stuff that he said. He called them dudes. Sorry, ladies, your feelings aren't as important as these dudes' feelings, right? Like, they bake it, when I say they, I mean far-right nutcases. They bake it right into the language that they use, the things that they say. It's baked right in.
It's unbelievable we're at this point where women, in the history of the world, if you look at the history of the world, this particular culture, this particular time in humanity has been the freest time for women in the history of the world. You know, this is not perfect. It is not perfect, but, you know, it's pretty darn good. Seriously.
I can agree with that, I suppose. It's pretty darn good compared to what it was before for women, yes. In the United States, U.S. culture, it's much better than it was, yes.
You know, it's pretty good. I mean, women, not exactly equality with men, but they're knocking on the door. They're right there, knocking on the door with men.
Yes, yeah, I can agree. I'm not sure why people are laughing. Oh, I see. He's making a gesture. Okay. That's kind of stupid. He could have just made the point without making crude gestures.
You know what I'm saying? But you get the point. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, by the way, I'm for equal rights for women, of course, you know, equal pay for women. I mean, I'm not going to give it to you, but if you get it, you know, I'm not going to take it away from you. That's my point.
So he apparently doesn't believe that women are entitled to equal pay? Is that what he's saying? I'm not going to give it to you, but if you get it, great. Is that, I mean, am I picking that up correctly? Is that what he's putting down?
You hang on. You go, girl. Some people refuse to use the word woman now. The governor.
What are you talking about? People refuse to use the word woman. No, they don't. Who refuses to use the word woman?
Whitmer of the great state of Michigan. She refuses to use the word woman.
No, she doesn't.
Instead, she prefers the term chest feeders.
Okay, well, that's a very specific situation and a very specific context, and there's nothing wrong with that. She wasn't using chest feeders instead of woman.
No, it could be worse. Come on. You know, chest feeders, kind of sexy, kind of gross, you know. Ow.
That's not funny at all, but okay.
Front hole is another one. Not very nice. Not to be outdone, the legacy newspaper, the New York Times, will no longer use the word woman in their publication.
Nonsense.
Instead, they prefer to use the term people who menstruate.
No, that would be assigned female at birth. That's the correct term here. I've never heard anybody use that term before. That's bizarre. If you, in a scientific context, if you need to refer to females, you can just say females. There's a difference between females and women. The word woman is the physical expression of people who were assigned female at birth. It's the physical expression of characteristics that we typically expect from people who were assigned female at birth. That's what a woman is. Now, women are, gender and sex are almost always linked. It's extremely rare that they are not. You are almost guaranteed to be a woman if you are a female. 96% chance of it, right? They are linked. But on occasion, you find somebody who doesn't have them linked. They're disconnected from each other. And that's okay. I don't see why you care. I don't see why this gets so many claps and yells and applauds and screams. I don't get why anybody cares about this stuff. You know, trans people have existed for God, since forever, right? The Nazis even tried to stop trans people from, existing by banning certain books and burning some and all this other stuff. The Nazis, or let me rephrase, authoritarians have always tried to stop people from expressing themselves the way that they want to. So let me say it again. Women, or any person who expresses their gender in a way that's typical to somebody who is assigned female at birth. That's what a woman is. That covers everything that you could possibly argue, any problem you could come up with regarding this issue. Well, they want it to mean adult human female. That's simply not how it works. This will be for my editor to look up when this is edited, but I heard there are more intersex people in the world than there are trans people in the world. It's a more common phenomenon. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody's going to have to look that up for me and find out. Don't take my word for that. Yeah, I don't feel like looking it up at this immediate moment. But anyways, Rob Schneider wants to make it out as though like we can't use the word woman. That's just never been a problem. Nobody's ever avoided the word woman before. In scientific and legal contexts, sometimes we need very precise terms. So we'll use birthing person in scientific contexts to refer to people who actually have uteruses. Or sometimes in scientific or legal contexts, we'll refer to, breastfeeders, depending on the situation. But, he wants to make a big deal out of it. Like, oh my God, this is so terrible that people are living their own lives and expressing their freedom the way that they want to. What happened to all that freedom stuff? You remember that? When the Republican Party screamed about freedom constantly? They never cared about it. They cared about control and used anything they could to get there. Anyway, let's keep listening to Rob here.
And for some of you older ladies, people who used to menstruate, we want to be inclusive. It's a little bit longer, ladies, but deal with it. No, this is serious. It's already in academia. It's already all over social media. It's in politics. If this thing continues to spread, the next time you go to Nordstrom's, you go like, yeah, I'm trying to buy some shoes for my wife. Am I in the right place? Am I in the shoe department for the people who menstruate? Because
you could just say the women's department, because guess what? Trans people use the women's department just like people who are assigned female at birth use the women's department.
For the people who menstruate, because...
Why is he saying menstruate? That's a weird way to say it. Isn't it just menstruate? What a weird way to pronounce that. Is this a word that he doesn't say very often? Is that what's going on?
These shoes look a little big, So I feel like I'm in the shoe department for the people with outside...
This isn't funny. I feel like people are only laughing because they're expected to, and they realize that they're expected to. I don't find this amusing at all. I'm probably going to have to take this live stream down when it's done completely because, this is just terrible. Seriously, this is bad. Why attack the most vulnerable people in our society? Why attack people who have historically been oppressed in society? Why attack people who already have a hard time? Why do it? What's the point? Why punch down, if you will? I don't understand. What is the draw to attacking people who are already under attack from every front, basically?
I know, you guys laugh, ha, 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 it's not going to affect me. We live in the greater Tampa Bay. Let me tell you, someday you're going to have to fly out of that airport, Tampa Bay to get to another airport so you get to where you really want to fucking go. You know what I'm saying? Let's be honest. Here it is, though, man. There's only 3 airlines left. I don't count Southwest or Spirit. There's 3. Delta, American. Well, the biggest, United Airlines. The CEO of United Airlines Last month, the CEO, he announced of all the hiring for all the new pilots that are coming up this year, all the hiring for the new pilots, the main focus is going to be diversity.
That's good. Diversity makes any system stronger. Diversity of thought, diversity of character, diversity of whatever. It's a good thing. It makes everything better. You know why New York City is so strong? Because of the level of diversity in this city. Let me get on my American exceptionalism. Do you know that electricity was invented in the United States? China was sitting in the dark until we came along. Do you know that the United States invented the first car? Well, I think the first car was invented at the exact same moment, patents filed at the exact same moment in Germany and in the US. But anyways, we perfected the car and we made it big, right? Do you know that the internet was built out here in the United States? People would still be communicating through phone lines if it weren't for us, which, by the way, we also invented, the United States. Do you know who invented those things? Immigrants. Immigrants invented those things. People from other countries that came here and wanted a better life and found it and did those inventions. The internet was invented at the Hadron Collider, the particle accelerator suddenly forgetting. CERN is in Switzerland. The internet was originally invented there. Computers were invented here, to my knowledge. But again, built out by immigrants. Do you know that Einstein was American, but also Jewish, a German Jew? Yes, every country would be sitting in the dark without us. But we would be sitting in the dark without those other countries. Immigrants make a system powerful. It is the source of strength for any system, especially the military. Oh my God, is it important for the military to have diversity and be willing to accept people of diverse backgrounds. Bigotry is so important to root out of the military. Not to mention the fact that immigration is so incredibly good for an economy. Adding people to an economy is extremely valuable. That's why China is lifting their birth rules, where you're not allowed to have more than a couple of children at a time, because they had a massive boom back in the 60s and the 70s, I think, and they had to limit how many people were allowed to have children. And now people aren't having enough, and their economy is falling. It's dropping because they're not adding enough people into the mix. They need more. So they're incentivizing people to have more children in China. Same with Russia. They're literally paying people, I think, $10,000 per kid to have more children. The evangelical movement in the United States right now is having kid after kid after kid so that they can overwhelm their enemies or whatever, the quiverful movement. Adding children or adding people to any economy is so valuable, it's incalculably valuable. Now, with that knowledge in mind, why don't Republicans want immigrants to come to this country? And you ever notice how it's not German immigrants that they have a problem with? It's never the French people that are coming here and hanging out that they want to ban from getting in, that they want to make the process more difficult for. Never them. It's always people coming across the border. Why? There is only one reason to not want immigrants to come to this country. Only one. It is nonsensical to not want immigration. The only reason is racism. That's it. And they are actually hurting the country by limiting our economic potential by rejecting immigrants. They are hurting the country by not letting people in. So anyway, go on. Tell me more about how you don't want immigrants making it into the U.S., Rob. Tell me more.
Main focus is going to be diversity. What? Diversity?
Yes, diversity makes any system stronger.
Not the best pilots you can find. The ones with the most hours of experience.
Well, that's the point. Yes, but we want to expand diversity. There are pilots out there that have just as much experience. There are black pilots that have just as much experience as white pilots. There are Mexican pilots who are more skilled than some white ones. Rather than picking the white pilots who are arguably less skilled, I can totally see a reason for picking, Mexican pilots or black pilots or whoever it happens to be. More diversity makes a system stronger every single time. But, I find it fascinating that he's even saying this. This is actually an old Ku Klux Klan talking point, what he's saying here. He's basically saying, if you want diversity, then you are discriminating against white people. If you're trying to expand diversity, it's discrimination against white people. Back in 1982, I think, there's an interview with a KKK Grand Master or Grand Wizard or whatever the hell they call him on CNN. 1982, yep, that's when it was. And I have the clip here.
Now, just a minute. I answered your question. Now, I want to finish what I was saying. We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people. And there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now.
See, the claim is that if you want to expand diversity in any system, it's discrimination against white people. Because naturally, white people are the best and they deserve everything, right? They deserve those positions. They make for the strongest system if you just have a bunch of white people and only a bunch of white people in the system, right? That's the idea here. And again, it's been a KKK talking point for, well, at least since the 1980s, but even longer than that, honestly. The 80s is just, how long I've had that, or how long ago that interview happened. That interview, when the KKK's strength was diminished in society heavily. The KKK ran entire towns back in the 20s, hell, 1800s even. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, all the way through. They ran entire towns. They had complete control. The sheriff, the mayor, everybody owned the town, and they were all KKK members. And they came up with the strongest talking points they possibly could to try to bring moderates over. That's the strategy. Why are you focused on diversity when you should be focused on hiring the best people? Yeah, of course we should be focused on hiring the best people, but the thing is, we have 500 applicants to this position. You don't think that every single applicant is just as strong as the last? That they all have the same, they all have bachelor's degrees, some of them from the same universities? The only difference between them is that some are black, some are white. And in that case, we want to make sure that our hiring practices roughly match society. So if there are 15% black people in society and we have 10 qualified candidates who are of all different races and they're all exactly the same exactly the same level of qualified as each other, then do you think maybe we should try to match society, match how many black people there are in society? If we already have 97% white people, why wouldn't we hire one more black person to lower that to 96% white people so we have a little bit of diversity in the system? That doesn't work for this guy or the KKK because it's discriminating against white people, right? Because, white people are the most discriminated against people on planet Earth in his mind. Anyway, that's really the problem here. We are listening to a KKK talking point from him that they've been using for decades and decades, maybe centuries. I mean, when you are using the same talking point as the Ku Klux Klan, you should re-examine your beliefs. Seriously. Something may have gone wrong somewhere along the way.
The ones with the most hours of experience. Things you've done it before.
And what happens when, all of those people are equivalent to each other? What happens when everybody has the same number of hours and experience as each other? Except, for some reason, according to studies that have been done, having a black-sounding name is more likely to get you blown off by an employer than if you had a white-sounding name. You're less likely to get a job if you have a black-sounding name like Jamal or Tyrone or something. Isn't that fascinating? There doesn't have to be any conscious bias in this system for there to be bias in the system. Doesn't have to be a conscious actor that's intentionally trying to destroy or hurt or ban people or not hire people because of their, ethnic background or race or whatever. But there is, in fact, unconscious bias that plays a part in this. That's why some companies have 97% white people when there are just as many qualified black applicants. So yeah, hire the best, of course. That should be first and foremost. But in the process, if you find an opportunity to hire a black person who is just as qualified, and it's an opportunity to expand diversity, then you should do it. As opposed to what the Ku Klux Klan wants, which is to only hire white people, ever. People clapping for this.
Nope, diversity. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of flying all the time with these white pilots landing safely and on time.
Because black pilots wouldn't land safely or on time.
Boring. I want diversity when I fly. I want a guy up in the cockpit pit up there,
I don't get the joke. What was the joke? I missed it. At the very least, if it is the joke I think it wasn't funny at all. I didn't find that amusing. Not that I'm offended. I just thought it was dumb as dog shit. Come on, man. Pull it together. Give us something better. You got a comedy special on Fox Nation, okay? That's something most people won't get their entire lives. Give me something that's worth the $5.99 a month that I'm paying to listen to your ass talk, please.
Purple hair and an outside there, next to some Puerto Rican midget with no sense of direction,
¿Dónde está el aeropuerto? Tampa Bay, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está el aeropuerto? Aeropuerto, ¿qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso? Okay.
Again, look, the thing is, here's why diversity is so powerful. Because people from different backgrounds and experiences and religions and ethnicities and whatever have different ways of viewing the world, different perspectives, different ideas on things. And when they are when they're injected into a system to help people plan or to come up with solutions or whatever, it only ever helps. Statistically, we look at the numbers and we can tell that it's valuable. It's helpful to have people of different backgrounds and ethnicities and everything involved in these systems. If you don't hire people from different ethnicities and try to build out diversity, then it's because you've been propagandized or because you're racist. It's only one of those two options. That's it. A good business manager wants diversity because he sees how valuable it is to the business. Now, I assume Rob Schneider is a business owner of some sort. Most people who are rich and that size usually have some kind of business that they manage, right? Some CEO of something. I have to imagine he's been placed in this position to determine if he should hire people of diverse backgrounds or not. And he's telling us no. Why? Is it racism or is it ignorance? Seems to me it can only be one of the two, right?
¿Es eso qué? ¿Es esto qué? ¿Es eso?
I want diversity when I fly. I want a pilot who says, we're going down in 3 different fucking languages. I want to... And listen, I have a lot of faith in Generation Z. I do, for absolutely no reason. I have a lot of faith in them. I do. But it's our fault what's happening. It is, because we have to be specific with these people. When we were younger, we could be vague. These people, you can't just tell them, you can be anything you want, because they'll take it too far. They'll take it way too far, You can't just say, you can be anything you want. I want to be a horsey. Yeah. I want to be a wizard. It's just a fucking movie. Stop it. a girl. I want to be a girl.
Okay, interesting. So we should stop telling people they can be anything they want to be, huh? When I was little, it's kind of an interesting story. My mom said I can be anything I want to be when I grow up. And I thought to myself, I want to be in the air. I love flying. You know, I love being up there in the clouds and just being above the ground generally. And at the time, there were only two things that I knew that were reliably in the air basically 24/7, and that was birds and stoplights. So I decided I wanted to be one or the other, one of those two things. I remember this conversation too. Anyways, when you grow up, you put away childish things and you realize what that saying means. You realize that there really are no limits. You know, you can do anything you want to do. You can be anything you want to be. And that is 100% true. You just have to work for it, work hard, and get lucky, of course. You have to get lucky. There's a lot of luck involved in a lot of this stuff, but I won't tell kids that because the luck aspect is irrelevant. Either they're going to have it or they're not. They might as well work hard just in case. He seems to be just making fun of people who have aspirations here.
Don't cut your Don't cut it off. Seriously, don't. No. Just hang in there. In a couple of years, you're going to find a really fun place to stick that thing. Seriously, just hang in.
Okay, he's saying that children are doing this. They're getting trans-affirming surgery. This is not happening. Children are not getting trans-affirming surgery. It's illegal, actually. It's against the law for trans people to get trans-affirming surgery under a certain age. The earliest that I had heard of was a single case of a 14-year-old getting it done. Getting top surgery, not bottom surgery, top surgery. There is no bottom surgery happening under 18. That's against the law. But I've heard of, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds getting top surgery. Now, I'm not, I understand that this is kind of an iffy subject. It's hard. Should 10-year-olds be getting bottom surgery? The answer is no, of course, right? It seems to me that the answer is no. But this is, like I said, this is the exact same technique that the KKK used in the all through the 18 and 1900s. They start out with a position that moderates can agree with. 12-year-olds should not be getting bottom surgery. Of course they shouldn't. And by offering that as one of the things that's happening, oh my God, the left wants 10-year-olds to get bottom surgery. By saying that it drags moderates over and it pulls people to the left into this conversation of, oh my God, you want 12-year-olds to get bottom surgery. And that's simply false. Nobody wants that, basically. But by doing so, by claiming that the left wants this thing, it opens it up for the left to either agree that this is wrong and accept legislation on it, or argue that 12-year-olds should be getting bottom surgery. They force you into this false dichotomy. I'm sorry. Now, you can see this exact strategy taking place with the KKK during integration, or during, when segregation was coming to an end. I've played this a few times. I'm going to play it again. Listen to this case study from the 1950s when segregation was coming to an end.
Some of the people are definitely against integration. And they have told my children that they have to marry.
So people opposed to integration, a.k.a. KKK members, effectively, are telling children in the neighborhood that they're going to be forced to marry black people. And if they don't, then they'll be put in jail.
And my child doesn't even know what a is, but from the sound, it has scared them, and they have come home just crying, Mommy, do I have to marry Negroes? And my answer in handling all the fears that children come in is that you can marry whomever you wish.
Now, that was in the 1950s, right? How old are those people, those children now, who were told they'd be forced to marry black people in the 50s? They're about 70 years old now, aren't they? They are the boomers. They are the generation of people who were scared shitless by the KKK and who were given these arguments and talking points. They were told this stuff before. And now we have an example of these people using this exact argument against trans people. If you allow trans people to exist in society, then children are going to start getting trans-affirming surgery at 12. Simply nonsense. I mean, can people, like, seriously not see this for exactly what it is? This is an embarrassment. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, check me out on Patreon. And let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the comments. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.